Hi guys, find out how this guy can bring anything from his dreams into the real world and become a millionaire. Welcome to Worth Recap. This time I show you the summary of the movie Super Me. The film introduces us to Sang-yu, a talented screenwriter who has suffered from insomnia for the past 6 months, because every time he sleeps, a strange being known as a guardian tries to kill him by depriving him of sleep. Because of this he has a block creative that prevents him from writing, so his friend Sang-chi gets angry with him since he invested money so that Sang-yu can write in peace, and seeing that he does not know how to write, he threatens to sue him. From that moment his life has been in decline since he has no money, work, friends, and has also stopped distinguishing dreams from reality, so he decides to commit suicide. However, before he can do it, an old man from the job post food stops you and invites you to eat. Together they talk for a while about Sang-yu's problems, and the old man advises him to try to wake up in his dreams by repeating to himself that he is dreaming. Later, Sang-yu sells his cell phone to buy some food at a store, then eats near the store and Julia arrives, a girl Sang-yu has had a crush on for years and owns a coffee. She tries to help, but when Sang-yu realizes that she becomes the guardian and tries to kill him, at that moment he repeats the words "I'm dreaming." After saying the words he wakes up bringing the monster's weapon with him. In the morning next he goes to an antique market, where all the buyers want to buy it from him. Seeing his reaction, Sang-yu goes to an antique shop to have the sword appraised, and the price he gets for it is 20,000 yuan. With the money Sang-yu goes to eat at a good restaurant, then buys a laptop and finally stays in a luxury hotel, where he tries to fall asleep with the help of sleeping pills. He immediately falls asleep, and in his dream he finds several valuable objects that he tries to take them. When trying to wake up he does not succeed, since the words do not work. Shortly after the guardian appears and attacks him, Sang-yu immediately repeats that he is dreaming and wakes up together with the object that held the last time. Then he sells the object, and with the money he buys new clothes and goes to a party. Then he returns home and falls asleep with a book from a museum in his hands. In his dreams Sang-yu wakes up in the same museum and tries to take several, however, he does not manage to wake up until the guardian arrives and attacks him, killing him before he manages to touch an object. Sang-yu goes back to sleep with the sleeping pills and takes various items before waking up with the learned words. However, in the midst of waking up he sees a dilapidated place with several portals. He takes the items he got to some collectors, that they pay him 1,000,000 yuan, then he leaves the place and meets Sang-chi and invites him to eat, and in the place he pays him the money he owed him and tells him that he will no longer write scripts. Then Sang-yu goes to Julia's coffee shop, and finds out that she wants to sell her coffee due to lack of customers. Sang-yu asks her the price, and she asks him for 1,000,000 yuan. He leaves with Sang-chi to drink and ends up drunk, so Sang-chi takes him to his room and sees how an object appears in Sang-yu's hands out of nowhere, and believing it to be a divine power he becomes his butler. The next day Sang-yu buys Julia's cafeteria and invites her to eat at a luxurious restaurant to get to know each other better. They both talk about their lives and then toast. The following nights, Sang-yu begins to better control his dreams, managing to pass through the portals he once saw. Sang-yu manages to appear in the places that he wants. Furthermore, Sang-yu becomes an active dreamer, a person able to control his dreams to his will, allowing him to subdue and defeat the guardian. Julia's cafe becomes a complete success, due to Sang-chi paying people to come to the cafe. While Sang-yu was in the cafeteria, he sees the old man who gave him advice and decides to lend him some money. Sang-yu accompanies Julia to her house, and on the way she asks him about her work, and he replies that he is a screenwriter. Shortly after, thanks to the contact he had with Julia, Sang-yu manages to break his creative block and writes a script that gives him recognition. However, not being enough, he puts on a show where he portrays himself as a famous screenwriter, in order to show Julia his work, and to display it in a better way. Where do you get so much money? After getting everything he wanted in real life, the guardian of his dreams finds himself on the verge of death. Sang-yu takes off the belt he is wearing. Because of this the guardian disappears. Once out of the dreams, Sang-yu wants to know why he has the ability to bring things from his dreams. Sang-chi tells him that it is a will of God to eliminate poverty from the world, and Sang-yu accepts the idea. After a wonderful date with Julia, he pretends to tell her that he was in love with her for years. However, before he can do so, he is attacked by something and scars appear on her body, so he leaves without saying goodbye to her to Julia. When he gets home, he goes to sleep. During his sleep, he goes through one of the portals and appears inside an elevator that takes him to the top floor of a building. When leaving, he finds a person looking straight ahead. Sang-yu approaches to observe who it is, and discovers that it is a version of himself full of scars that begins to disappear. He is surprised and begins to have a vision of him inside some ruins. Sang-yu wakes up and more scars appear on his body, and not knowing what to do, he goes to the old man who once advised him to guide him again. However, before arriving, they hood him and put him in a car. His captors ask for $10 million, and Sang-yu asks his friend Sang-chi to take the $10 million. When they receive the money, they beat up and kidnap Sang-chi. The kidnappers realize that they can get more money from Sang-yu and force him to take them to where he lives. The kidnappers sneak into the hotel with Sang-yu. When they arrive at his apartment, they find a room full of treasures. Soon after, Julia arrives to talk to Sang-yu and find out what he is up to. However, Sang-yu tries to chase her away, but Julia still wants to meet up with Sang-yu. She then enters her apartment, where the kidnappers hood her and take her hostage, to ask Sang-yu for more money. Sang-chi manages to wake up and attacks the captors. Sang-yu and Julia manage to free themselves and try to flee, but before they can get out, they are caught by the captors, and Sang-chi sacrifices herself, stopping them so they can escape. Is able to run away. Sang-chi is brutally beaten, but continues to hold them off until they kill him by smashing his head against the stands. Shortly after, Sang-yu and Julia are hit, and one of the kidnappers hits Sang-yu, throwing him against a glass that knocks him unconscious. Sang-yu is taken to the ruins that he saw before waking up. There he begins to walk around the place and approaches a portal and tries to cross it, where he begins to observe all the events of his life from the present to the past. After this, he tries to cross the portal without success since a barrier prevents him. Sang-yu tries to repeat the words "I'm dreaming" to wake up, however they don't work. Later, Sang-yu begins to undergo a transformation and begins to become the Guardian. At that moment, he begins to break the barrier with a weapon, and manages to break what prevented him from returning to the world. However, as he breaks the barrier, he begins to see fragments of his life, but as if he had lived as the Guardian, but in those visions the Guardian kills his acquaintances. On the other hand, the kidnappers find a strange wall in the apartment and watch as it begins to crack, while the Guardian continues to break the wall and manages to get out of that world. Sang-yu immediately wakes up and watches as the Guardian kills Julia, and immediately begins to kill each of the kidnappers with a gun. The Guardian makes a massacre on the spot, killing everyone. Finally, the Guardian is going to kill Sang-yu. He repeats that he is dreaming, but those words do not work, and the Guardian kills him. At that moment, all the things that Sang-yu took from his dreams begin to disappear. And Sang-yu begins to hear Julia's voice and wakes up inside the supermarket. Sang-yu is shocked and speechless by what happened. Julia takes him to his house and feeds him. Sang-yu eats without problems. She also offers him a job in her cafeteria, which Sang-yu accepts. From that day on, they work together. Thanks to the new opportunity of life that Sang-yu received, he manages to improve his creativity, which allows him to write and sell one of his scripts. Sang-chi took it upon himself to sell his libretto and gave him a lot of money. Then Sang-yu approaches the old man to buy him something and greet him, and he returns the money he had left him some time ago. Sang-yu is puzzled, thinking that what happened was just a dream, and the old man tells him that he too is someone like him, and behind him a portal begins to open. Thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to see more videos like this. If you wanted to see more, I recommend this comedy and horror movie.